All right, thanks again, everybody, for joining in. Again, my name is Joe Foster, and I'm the guy you get emails from all the time. You'll get one right after this, actually. But today we're going to cover basically reviews and digital review copies and that sort of stuff in Edelweiss Plus. This kind of the syllabus, if you will. The one thing that we're going to focus on right at the beginning is to customize your homepage, and then kind of the cascade down from there. Just a little bit about us. Again, the company's name is above the tree line. We have kind of an alpine thing with Edelweiss and some Summit and Basecamp tools and that sort of stuff. We basically been around since the early 2000s doing retailer analytics and that sort of thing. And then about 2009, we started Edelweiss, which is a digital catalog platform. And we are based in Ann Arbor, Michigan. That's actually a picture of our offices right above a brew pub in downtown Ann Arbor. It's very nice. Well, one thing about Edelweiss is that we are used by everybody in the book industry, essentially. So librarians, booksellers, reviewers, and of course, publishers. The profit model basically is that publishers pay to post their catalogs online. And so the end product, I guess, would be your eyeballs and your excitement about their titles, which kind of works out for everybody. Because in that way you get early access to free books, and then you make sure that as many people read those books as possible, which is kind of a win for everybody. But one thing is Edelweiss does a lot of stuff, like a lot of stuff. So it's not just a place to go in and find digital review copies, which I think is where sometimes people get a little confused, because it does do a lot more than that. And the digital review copy stuff is actually kind of just a small chunk of what happens on the site. The core focus is the digital catalog service. So essentially publishers go in and post their front list catalogs for the most part, because there's a seasonal thing that happens in bookselling. So like right now, booksellers and librarians are buying for the fall season. So they're buying for Christmas right now, basically, which is a little crazy because it's spring. But because this is where Edelweiss is where book professionals go, publishers basically want to be able to provide a lot of things like the digital review copies and the ability to write reviews and that sort of stuff. Edelweiss is used by all the major publishers. It's 100% of the major publishers. There are some smaller publishers who aren't quite on yet, but a lot of the smaller publishers are caught by like Consortium and PGW and IPS and those larger kind of conglomerates of smaller publishers. So they have distribution and stuff like that. And in this case, they also have cataloging, which is pretty great actually for them, for smaller publishers. What that means for you is that essentially 95% of all the front list titles are listed in Edelweiss. So it's a great place to catch all that sort of thing. And today, this is really what we're going to be covering. I do want to mention that if you do have questions, that there is a Q&A tool within the webinar interface. And my colleague Darcy is standing by to answer those questions. If we're not able to get to your questions during the session here, then we'll try to catch you later by email. And of course, you can find help documentation at help.edelweiss.plus, and I'll show you a shortcut to get to there as well from the site. So again, thanks for joining in today, and we're going to do a kind of whirlwind tour of the Edelweiss tools here. So I should mention that we're kind of assuming at least a base familiarity with Edelweiss here. If you've never logged on to Edelweiss at all or are hearing about it for the first time here, we might be moving a little bit fast for you, but we'll try to make it nice and easy for you. But basically, whenever you log on to Edelweiss, this is going to be the home page, and you have the option between old homepage and new homepage. Just use the new homepage. The older one's going away because it's actually a little buggy and slow, so we can bust the new one. But the cool thing about the new one is that you can really customize it a lot. So basically, each of these little areas in here are widgets. So a widget is basically just a specialized tool that you can place on the homepage here and kind of see what you want to see. Now, what's great about this is you can get rid of stuff that you don't want to see at all, and you can add new stuff. So you can add in new widgets really easily. Sorry, I'm never quite as smooth as I want to be on these things. Sorry about that, you guys. So like, for example, we have a new catalogs and a work list widget here. If you don't want to see this, it just isn't something that you're going to be using, you just click the little X here and those can go away. So really, like, if you're coming in and you really just want to see the review copies, you could remove all the stuff on here except for review copies, available DRCs widget. DRC stands for digital review copy, kind of our name for eGalleys, really. But to add new widgets, you can come over here and click Add Widget. And you have a lot of different options in here. For example, if we click into review copies, we can say, show me all the available review copies, or show me just the ones I can download right this second. And then you can also track your requests and downloads in here as well. And I'm going to say downloadable here. Whenever you click on a new one, it creates a new widget here. And you can drag these around and put them in different spots on the page and that sort of stuff. So you can, again, you basically customize this as you like. So right now we're looking at downloadable and available. So available is going to be all the digital review copies. So stuff that you can request and stuff that you can download. And this one, downloadable, again, is just titles that you can just go ahead and download right now. There is a couple of new ones in here as well. So they heard some feedback that people wanted to have more visibility into their shelves. So you can, for example, see your highly anticipating or anticipating shelves. And we'll get more into what those shelves are a little bit later towards the end, and I'll show you how to do this part again. But for example, you can say, show me my finished reading shelf, which I don't know if this one has just a few titles in there. And again, if you want to get rid of one, you just click that little X. And this little recycle thing here allows you to go ahead and change what this widget actually is. So you can say, show me just my friend buzz, which are all books that I've read, actually. Neat. All right, so within each of these widgets, again, I'm going to remove that one. We can take this downloadable DRCs widget and create a filter based in there, or essentially we're applying a filter. So you click on that little gearbox here, or the gear, I guess it's just one gear, and click here to set. And then from here you can basically place your saved filter, so your customized filters that you created yourself, which we'll get into here in just 1 second, and apply it to this widget. Or you can use one of these pre-made genre filters. So if you just want to see all the fiction. So the only thing that's going to show up in this particular widget are going to be those fiction titles. What's cool is that you can take your review copies widget, and we're going to, we're just going to add a few in here. So I have one for all fiction. I'm going to add in another one that's just going to show me historical fiction. And then I'll add in another one that's YA, for example. Oop. Got too happy with the scroll there. So you can take each of these, like have multiple widgets, all with kind of different focuses, or foci, if you will, and get a nice view of all of your various interests, and just kind of be able to see at a glance the new stuff that's available, which can be really, really helpful, really quick and easy. So I mentioned the the saved filters in here. You can create stuff as you go. You can use those pre-arranged ones, kind of whatever you like. But I'm going to show you how to create your own filters here. So you click into Save Filters over on the upper right. And it's going to take you to a page where you're going to be able to see all of your filters. And then anything that you've created will be in there. And you can edit those filters as you like. But to create a new filter, you just click on Add New Filter here. And you get some links to some in-depth help documentation there. But really, the only thing to do here is to find, think about what exactly you want to see. So we can say, an Edelweiss vendor is going to be a publisher, whereas the imprints are going to be the individual, either imprints or like the publishers contained within Random House, for example. So there's an Edelweiss vendor would be Random House, whereas like Crown and Knopf and those sorts of publishers contained within Random House will be under the imprint there. You can create publication date, subjects, DOI, age ranges, etc. I'm going to hop into subjects here. You'll scroll down. So these are based on BISAC, so the book industry standards and classifications, which is what the publishers use to classify their titles. So they use those to put their titles on the site, so we use those for you to find those titles. But they start out very broad. So for example, you can see fiction. If you click that little arrow, you'll be able to see the genre stuff contained within fiction. And if we go down to, say, mystery, you can see kind of those subgenres within the mystery. So if you just want to see cozy mysteries, for example, and you definitely don't want to see hard-boiled, well, you don't have to say, when you add one filter, that filters out everything else. So you don't have to say, I don't want to see these other things. For example, that's what this little dash guy there is. Just it's a not filter, so it's saying don't show me these things. But not necessary to do this. You could say, show me all the mystery except for hard-boiled, if that makes sense. And you can add multiple things in here as well. So you can say, show me mysteries, and I like thrillers and science fiction. So whenever you create these filters, it's going to show you all the possibilities in here, which you'll see is 43,000 titles on the site. And then you can come in and to save this filter, you really just name it and save it. It's really easy. I'm going to say, my filters, or my, you can call it whatever you want, my subjects or whatever, and save. So we have a huge filter here, but we can go back to the home page and apply that filter to the DRCs, for example. So then I'm going to have, one filter is just going to show me the stuff that I'm interested in. That's a great way to kind of like wade through all the offerings on here. There's a lot of titles. You saw that there's 43,000 titles that you could go through. Nobody's really going to go through 43,000 separate titles. That's where madness lies. So being able to kind of pare down all of those according to your own interests can be really helpful. I did want to show as well. So if you're part of a group of bloggers, or if you work at a bookstore or a library, and you have colleagues who use Edelweiss as well, and you guys are connected, you can actually share these filters as well. So if you create like the most masterful filter you've ever seen, and everybody that you work with should be able to share in that, you can just click shared, and then your colleagues will be able to use this very interesting filter. And that can be a helpful thing for somebody like is in charge of the organization, and then say Bob does mysteries and thrillers, and Sally does sci-fi and fantasy, and Joni does history and philosophy. And so kind of being able to assign filters to people in that way can be really can be a helpful thing. It basically allows you to puppet master your staff, essentially. I just did marionette fingers, which you guys couldn't see, but it's a little creepy. I'm going to go back to the home page here. All right, so again, we have a couple of digital review copy widgets here, all showing different sorts of titles. But you can also just go to the review copies page, and that's done very simply by clicking into review copies. And one thing I want to point out here is that each of these sections here on the filters on the left, which you may need to expand depending on what you've done previously, like for the available titles, I have this set for just show me titles that have been added in the last month, because I'm on here all the time, and you can even say just for the last 7 days if you're on here weekly. But you can also say show me my downloads from forever, which on this demo account is just one title. But that can be a nice way to kind of pare down. If you're really, really active and have been reviewing stuff for years, then you don't necessarily need to see all the titles you've ever reviewed or requested. And keep in mind too, if you have all available and you say all, you're just going to see a bunch of titles, and it's going to slow down the load actually, because it's going to load all those titles. But what's cool about this is, so we have all available titles that have been added in the last month, and you can apply your saved filters in here. So again, you can use the genre filters or any of your saved filters that you've created. So like, for example, I created one for Harper Young Adult titles, which are quite popular. So there have been 4 of those added in the last month. If we want to extend that out a little bit, you can say show me in the last 6 months. So again, kind of a cool way to just really narrow down those titles based on your own interests. And to clear out a filter, you just click on it again and say clear. You see I had changed that time frame to 6 months, so now there's quite a few more titles that are loading in here. I want to point out as well that based on the list that you're looking at, there are a number of filters options that you can see down here. So basically you can kind of filter on the fly for art titles, for example. And then from within this list, you can also sort. So you have some sort options. So you can say, sort by date added or by publication date, title if you want. And then this little guy essentially toggles the list between ascending and descending. So you can view it however you like in there. There's also another couple of different views that you can look at the title list here with. Right now we're looking at the 2-column view, which is really designed to be able to scroll through a list of titles pretty quickly. And if you want to scroll through even quicker, you can go to the grid view. which really makes it very, very fast. If you want to see more information about a title, you can click on the title itself, and you'll see the summary, the contributor information, any shelves from your peers, etc. Or you can view this in the full view, which is actually my personal preference. And here you see more title information, but you can also expand this even more. So you can say, go to other actions and say, show me all the content and comparable titles as well. So publishers will load in comparable titles, so titles that they would compare the new title to, just so that's mostly for like a bookstore, so they can see their sales for previous titles by this author or that are like this book and that sort of stuff, so they can get a better idea of what they should be bringing in and how many that's hard to say, how many copies of it, etc. But then you can scroll through and you'll see all that rich title information that they've added into these titles. So keep in mind that all this stuff is fully provided by the publishers, and some are better than others, of course. Oftentimes you'll see stuff like key selling points, which is kind of cool. Just kind of a way for their sales reps to sell the titles, and also for booksellers or librarians to be able to talk about a title, or to give you guys an idea of how they're positioning a title that's coming out. Because again, these are brand new, not even out yet. Some of them just came out, but just kind of a fun way to see how publishers are talking about their books pre-publication, which is fun in that super nerdy kind of way. So usually if I'm just scrolling through and looking for something good to read, I would close down the comps and stuff like that. And then you can open that information for each title this way. Really kind of however you like to view things and how OCD you might be about seeing every single thing about a title. So keep in mind too, right now we're looking at all available digital review copies, and so we're seeing a mix of titles that I can go ahead and download, which are in the green little guys here, or stuff that I can request. So basically, if you can download a title, then that means the publisher has either said that you specifically can go ahead and download a title, or people like you can go ahead and download a title. And a lot of that's going to be associated by your user type. So blogger or reviewer or bookseller or librarian, they can go in and say, I want all librarians to be able to download this title right away. Or they can do that according to an affiliation that you can connect with, which we'll show you here in just a little bit. But basically, if you see the green, you see the download, rejoice. You have free access to that book without begging. Not that you have to beg, but I'm going to clear that out here. So as far as requesting a title, it's actually pretty easy. The person you mean to be could probably all take some lessons there. I'm going to go ahead and click on the request. And this is going to show me basically my profile. It's going to provide a link to the profile, and then you have what the book is, who the publisher is, and then the evaluation purpose. If you've never requested anything, then this is going to be blank, and we make you choose one of these options before you can request. But generally, it's going to be the same thing all the time. If you're a buyer at a bookstore, a collection developer at a library, you're going to be at acquisition usually. Reviewing or advocating, it kind of depends on how you view your role as a blogger or reviewer. And you can say specifically why you're requesting this particular title. You don't have to write anything here. A lot of people like to, and so if you have a compelling reason to request a book and to want to read it before it's published, essentially, like, why should you get a free book is kind of what it comes down to. If you went to college with Dolly, the author of this title, and that might be relevant. Or if this is the kind of book that your blog is specifically about, that's relevant as well. But again, you don't have to write anything in there. You can see your profile up here and your profile strength. Now, the profile strength is fully dependent on how much information you've provided. And I'll show you what that looks like here. So you click on the edit icon here. And you're going to be able to see your description of your role. So basically who you are, what you do, and who sees that you do it, basically, like your audience. So if you're a blogger, you want to say, this is the name of my blog, here's the link, here's some of my stats, the unique visits, followers, and all that kind of fun stuff. If you have a books and wigs review site, then good luck to you. But you can come in here and also provide links. So a link to your blog, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Goodreads, and Skype if you want. Again, you don't have to do that stuff, but it will increase the strength of your profile. And really, if you are a blogger, then you really want to provide your blog link here. Publishers really need to see that. Just keep in mind, like, just picture this, publicist has 1,000 different requests to go through. And if she has to research each and every single one of those, find the blog and see what the reviews are like and that sort of thing, it's going to take a lot of time. So your request may be delayed in that way. I see that a fair amount. Somebody will say, I requested this a month ago, I still haven't heard back. And just to be clear, that's not us, that's the publishers. We basically provide the platform, and then the publishers say yay or nay. But they may just postpone approving or declining request based on lack of information that they might look up if they have time later, and sometimes they don't. So that being said, provide your links there and you'll be good to go. The addresses one here is for a feature that's upcoming quite soon for physical review copies and the ability to request those. And that's going to be something that publishers can turn on and off and that sort of thing. But it's kind of a cool enhancement that is coming. But basically, you can go ahead and update anything there and then click Save. And you can return to that request. If this is a book that you want to request, you just click Submit. It'll say Submitting Requests, and then you'll see now that this request is pending. And that will show up in my Open Request over here. So this Request You've Made section here is where you can track those requests. And we can see any approvals or declines that you've received. I requested this one earlier today, and it was approved. So I can actually, at this point, go ahead and download this book. And I can click on Download. From here, you have a couple of options. You can download it in standard format or the Kindle format. If you're a Kindle person, you can click on that. Say, set this as my preferred format for future downloads. I'm going to do that. Continue, you add your Kindle email address and choose one of these options. This is the most common one. The one thing that you need to do if this is the first time you've downloaded a book from Edelweiss to your Kindle, you want to go basically follow step one. Add Kindle at AboveTheTreeline.com as an approved sender, and then you're good to go. That's the most commonly missed step, of course. otherwise standard. Continue. This will go to Adobe Digital Editions, or depending on the device that your device that you're reading on. There's different setup steps, of course. To see more about that, you can come up here to click on Help and go to Get Help. And then we can click into Book Professionals, which is you guys. And under the digital review copies, you'll see how to download to various devices here. So that should provide you step-by-step instructions for doing that. But yeah, so once you downloaded a book, you can read away. So one thing publishers really like to see as well, besides you reading their books and then talking about them to your audience so that they can sell more of them, which is of course why they're doing all this anyways. They do like to see reviews in Edelweiss itself. So to review a book, you simply click here on review, or if we're looking at the 2-column view, it's just going to be a little more truncated there. So from here, you're going to be able to rate this title 1 to 10. If you loved it, give it a 10 or a 9. That's great. You can, if you like, also rate, writing quality, character development, that sort of thing. If you want to rate all this as you go, that's great. There's no images in this book, so we're not going to rate that. It's kind of however you like to do it. Then you can write your review. And then from here, you can save it, and it's going to just be visible to you and anybody that you're friends with or affiliated with in Edelweiss. Or preferably, the publishers really like it if you also submit your review to the publisher. So then they actually will get your review in an email, and they'll see, they have a whole process on their end to be able to see those reviews. And if they really, really like your review, they have the opportunity to feature it, which means that other people will be able to see, anytime they look at this particular title, they're going to see your featured review next to it, which can be kind of cool, just getting your face out there, basically. So now you'll notice that this little heart filled in. The heart is a way for you to kind of do a flyby review. You can just click the heart. That's going to automatically give a rating of 9 to this title. It will not submit any sort of review to the publisher. You still need to go in and do that if you want to. And you should write something anyways and say why it's a 9. But a lot of people really like the much love thing. And that actually shows up when you're looking at a title. You can see like the Little Women book here has 3 much loves. One of them is the one that I just did. You see a couple others. And you'll see the type of user who has added that review in. So again, publishers like to give you access to their titles, and they also like to see what you think of their titles. And so you can very easily, if you have a blog or review stuff on Goodreads or whatever, you can totally copy and paste that review in here, click save. Most people do that actually, because why write it twice? If you gave something a much love or a review that you didn't mean to, you can click back on this heart. So are you sure you want to delete this review? Yep. So there are reviews and there are also shelves. So you can track your reading using shelves, and that is this guy here. So again, a lot of these titles are pre-publication. Like these 2 are coming out in July and August. If you're not going to read them digitally. You're kind of just waiting for them to come out, or you may see a title and you kind of hope that you're going to be able to see a review copy of that at some point. You can come in and say, I'm highly anticipating this title, or anticipating, currently reading. You can add it to a favorite shelf, which is a new thing. Or you can clear that shelf activity out as well. But I'm going to actually add this to my highly anticipating. And what's nice about this is, again, we'll go back to the home page, and I have a highly anticipating widget, which is here. You can see that one I just added. It's kind of a cool way to add titles that you're excited about to a shelf, and then I can see at a glance on here which ones have review copies available. So you could see, click more there. I don't have a whole lot on this, but I can see that this one has a review copy available, and I can download it right this second. So that's kind of a nice way to set aside those titles that you're most excited about, and then be able to see pretty quickly which ones have review copies. Because again, like we don't have a schedule of when publishers are going to add their review copies. They just kind of add them in whenever they're ready to do so. And a lot of titles never actually get review copies as well, because again, there's hundreds of thousands of titles on the site, but only a select few actually have review copies attached to them. So I talked a little bit about being affiliated with people and being friends. So I'm going to show you that here real quick. So at the top of any page, you can go up to your name. My name is Edelweiss Demo. But you'll get a profile page here. And one of the things you'll see is affiliations. And so this account is attached to the Edelweiss community, which is an opt-in sort of thing that I would recommend you opt into. But if you come over here to the little pencil guy, you can edit this. And if you're a part of the blue badge employees of Amazon, or you're a member of the American Booksellers Association, etc., you can opt in there. So like for the ABA, for example, you can click on this plus and then enter in your ABA member number and hit OK, and that'll connect you with the other ABA members. In this case, what we're doing is opting into the Edelweiss community, which is open to anybody. And so you can just check this box or uncheck it if you don't want to be part of it. But what that will do is increase your exposure to other people's reviews, and also allow other people to see your reviews and shelf activity and that sort of thing. Also, on the publisher side, they have the means to what's called whitelisting, where they can basically say, these groups of people can go ahead and just download our books. They don't have to request them, and they have the opportunity to whitelist the Edelweiss community. And a lot of publishers have done that because it's basically shows a higher level of engagement, basically, is what it comes down to. And there are those publishers, especially the smaller guys, who they want eyeballs on their books, and they want your reviews, and they want word of mouth and all that excitement that surrounds a book when it's really good and everybody's loving it and that sort of thing. So they'll whitelist all those communities and affiliations and just say, please read our books and talk about them. So you will get more access to titles if you opt into the Edelweiss community. And you'll also be able to see on the Buzz page. So this all kind of culminates. So we have tons and tons of book professionals on the site. Publishers offer them the opportunity to read their books early, and then also to review those books. And then we essentially aggregate all that information on the Buzz page. And so we can see within the affiliate activity, you can see those titles that are actually getting the most play and the most excitement from other book professionals on the site. So the Claire Legrand, of course, is up here. You can see number of reviews, the number of much loved stuff, how many people put stuff on their shelves, all that fun stuff. So you see the whole community getting around or behind a book, which can be pretty exciting. And there have been books that have popped up in the buzz that I was frankly kind of surprised about, but just because this is a smaller publisher, not a whole lot of press going on and not a whole lot of push, but that word of mouth just really starts picking up, and then it just kind of pops up and makes it out of the morass of those hundreds of thousands of other titles, which is the whole point of all of this, right? Like that discovery of great, beautiful, fun books that everybody should read, that kind of deserve the accolades that they end up getting. Here's a good example of the featured reviews. So the Poet X has 7 featured reviews. So basically, people have reviewed this book and the publishers really like what the reviews said, and so they want everybody to see it. I have been hearing more and more about this one all the time, actually. But yeah, so pretty fun, exciting stuff. You can come in here and you can sort this list by buzz, which is going to be an aggregate of the shelf and review activity. Yeah, and you can also, of course, sort by pub date or price if you want, that kind of fun stuff. You can also go to people and see kind of what folks are saying about a book. So within the active affiliates, I can see a whole bunch of activity in here, kind of get to know some super smart people. But really the best use for this is the friends stuff, which again, will go back to your profile. So you click on your name at the top of a page and you'll see the friends search here. And so if you know that somebody's on Edelweiss, you can come in here and I'll say, Darcy, who's been answering some questions. Say, I want to be buddies with Darcy, so I'm going to send her a friend invite. And then so Darcy's going to get an email from me or from Edelweiss Demo, and she can say yay or nay about being my buddy. And then I'll be able to see specifically her, the books that she's been reading. I just finished this one last night, and it's actually surprisingly good, by the way. Yeah, good stuff. But yeah, so make friends with people. You can kind of have like a nice little group of super smart book professionals with similar tastes and see what everybody's reading, kind of talk amongst yourselves about the excitement behind those books and that sort of fun stuff. So you can also create a widget for that. Say in the people, I want to see just my friends, and I'll see those super smart people. That's me. But I can see those people here, see what they're reviewing, and also you can add a widget for reviews and say, just show me my friend reviews, stuff that they've been talking about. So kind of a social media aspect to it, but all kind of with the aim of helping you discover those big books and the best books, I guess. Yeah, so that's kind of what we have for today. And just want to kind of reiterate what we talked about. You can basically customize your homepage as much as you want and make it look however you like. You can find all the review copy stuff under review copies, and you can filter this with save filters or on the fly as you like. You can look at different sorts of titles that are available to you. You can review titles, add them to shelves, and then see that aggregated activity under the buzz. And you can make friends with people. And again, that's all under your name here. And the friend search, you can see open invites received. I think someone just, hi PG, I'll say yes. So there we go. Just want to say thanks again for joining in today, and hopefully you learned some stuff. If you do have questions, again, the best place to get answers to your questions is either the help documents, which goes under Get Help, and then you probably be clicking under Book Professionals, which is going to be just stuff that pertains to you. Or you can email us at support@abovethetreeline.com, and that will send an email to a whole team of people who are waiting to answer your questions. Yeah, thanks again, and I hope everybody enjoys all the free books they're about to get. All right, thanks guys.